In this unit, you're going to listen to people talking about their memory, what helps them remember things, and what they forget. Let's get started. Listening task 1. Listen to Jameson and Lainey talking about memory. Answer these questions. Who has a better memory? Do they have anything in common about memories and remembering?
Have you got a good memory?
Sometimes. It depends on what I'm trying to remember, but I find that I can remember odd details fairly well, but significant events sometimes get a little blurry.
How do you remember things?
If it's something that I really need to remember, if I'm studying or in school, things like that, I will just read it over and over again. Sometimes I would record myself reading it out loud and then listen to it on headphones when I was sleeping, sort of hoping that I would just soak it in through that method.
What, if anything, do you forget?
Sometimes I forget names, which is embarrassing because I meet a lot of people and I would like to remember their names, but sometimes cannot.
Have you got a good memory?
Not particularly.
How do you remember things?
I take photos of them. I travel a lot and I forget things that have happened to me while I've been traveling. And so I try to take lots and lots of photos so that I can look back and remember the things that have happened.
What, if anything, do you forget?
Just random life experiences that I've had. I forget, luckily, I forget a lot of traumatic things that happened in my life, things that I would rather not remember. They just somehow leave my mind after a year or two. So that's quite helpful, actually.
Listening task 1. Answers. Who has a better memory? Jameson. Do they have anything in common about memories and remembering? No, they don't mention anything which is the same. Listening task 2. Now you're going to hear part of a longer conversation. They're talking about remembering birthdays. Which of these statements is true? They all forget people's birthdays. Only Stuart forgets birthdays. Calendars help them all remember birthdays. Do you forget people's birthdays?
Always.
Everyone's.
Me too.
Terrible.
Well, this last year I've got much better, but I have been known to forget my mum's and my dad's birthdays.
Controversial. Well, my sister's on the 1st of January, so that's impossible to forget. However, it happens on the basis that you're so focused on Christmas and New Year, you get to like the 31st. It's a birthday tomorrow. All the shops are shut. But I got a quite a big hint from the other side of the family when I got a calendar for Christmas that they made up of some of their photos, so the family photos and some of the things that they'd done. And then on all the days it said when their birthdays were. I thought, that's a very subtle hint, but I like it because I've forgotten their birthdays. Having lived in Ecuador for 8 years, I was detached. So I've consistently forget. So I had the calendar. I had it by the door. You'll see that every time you go out. Gradually it got buried by stuff and forgot the first birthday and the second. So it's a continual problem.
Yeah, I've had various people try to send me these online calendar and birthday reminders and apps through Facebook and everything else where you can set their birthdays as recurring birthdays, and yeah, I just fail. I try. I can remember my immediate family's birthdays, but everyone else, I'm hopeless.
Yeah. If you don't get an invite, then yeah.
Listening task 2. Answers. They all forget people's birthdays. Only Stuart forgets birthdays. Calendars help them all remember birthdays. Only one of those statements was true. Did you hear which one? It was the first one. They all forget people's birthdays. Listening task 3. The conversation continues and they give more examples of things they forget. Which of these things do any of them forget? The names of ex-girlfriends, keys, ages, phones. What other things do you forget?
Many things.
My own age.
That's
Sometimes.
Actually, I've done that before, yeah.
I never had this before.
that's showing signs of your age. I
But I
think.
think it's a subconscious,
You don't want to
deliberate
remember.
act. Yeah, you
Yeah.
start not wanting to know your own age. And
Keys.
No, I'm really good at that actually. Those little things, I've got routines, so I don't do that kind of stuff. I get in, I put my keys in a certain place, I put my bag here. I'm good with all that. But I forget events. I certainly don't have the memory that some of my ex-girlfriends have. You said this. Do you remember saying this?
No.
What?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can be a bit dizzy when it comes to things. Yeah, like keys, where have I put something? I know I had it 5 minutes ago. Where the hell has it gone? I can't find my keys. I can't find my
my mother does that all the
sunglasses,
time. It
I
drives me
can't-
mad.
Yeah, it drives me mad as well. That
She leaves the keys in the outside of the door and has to keep paying for expensive lock replacements when somebody walks by and takes them.
dear.
Yeah, but that may be Alzheimer's.
At least
you
only
never know.
taking the keys.
What about dates and
Google Calendar. Dates, as in.
meetings or what you've got to do at certain
I
times?
thought you
or-
meant romantic dates.
Why, have you forgotten a romantic date before?
God, it can't be that romantic.
I don't think so, but I probably have. At some point.
Not a good sign if
Terrible.
the
No.
person
I'd probably
you're
look
going out
for
with has
somebody
slipped
else.
your mind. Yeah. But
No.
like being places at particular times ever? Or?
Google Calendar. All my whole life is in Google Calendar now. I get little pop-ups and email reminders, and I don't need to use my brain anymore. It's fantastic.
This is mine.
Oh,
I
Stuart,
go
Old
week,
school.
I go week by week, and it works. So far, I haven't forgotten anything.
Get with the times, Stu.
Well, I don't
know,
use
Tom.
anything at all, apart from my brain, which is why occasionally I forget. But no, very, very rarely.
So you don't have a phone synchronised with the cloud or
No.
anything like that?
Nothing
Synchronised.
like that.
This is you, Tom. This
I
is
think
you.
it's 'cause
You're
I don't
behind
have-
the computer so often. I try not to be anywhere near mine now.
I think it's because I don't have anything. It's either work, which you go to all day and you leave, or now my life's changed a little bit, so perhaps I'll have to change how I remember things. But
in Spanish.
no, yeah, I mean, I bought a diary to write things in. I forgot to write them in, or I write them in and I forget to take the diary, so it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Listening task 3. Answers. So which things did they say they forget? The names of ex-girlfriends? No. Keys? Yes. Ages? Yes. Phones? No. Listening task 4. Think for a minute. What do you do to make sure you don't forget things or forget to do things? Now listen to the next part of the conversation and see if they do any of the same things to help them as you do. What techniques do you have for remembering things?
I write things down. Basically, it's the only thing I do. I write it down. Actually, I put memories in my notes in the phone, and as soon as the alarm of the phone goes off 3 days later, I know exactly why it's going off. So it just acts as that mental jog. But I think that's all really.
My father ties knots in his handkerchief still.
Really?
That's a very old-fashioned thing to do.
That's very 1940s.
Yes. But you see, again, if I did that, I would just look at this knot and go,
What's that about?"
that about? I know I have to remember something, but it's completely gone. What was it?
I associate things I need to remember with objects sometimes. So if I leave something out of place, let's say I'll just leave a glass in the middle of the floor, I will use that as a prompt to remind me something that I needed to remember the night before.
Yeah, I used to do that as well. Yeah.
Maybe I've got the worst memory here, though, because again, I would get up and go,
why is there a
that's
glass?
there to remind me about something now. What was it?
If I'm going to the shops and I maybe just have 5 or 6 things on a list, but I can't find a pen, I will remember the things, but just use the fact that I know there's 5 or 6, and that will be the
Use
memory
numbers
aid.
too.
So when I've got through 4 in the supermarket, now what
definitely
was that
something
last
now.
one? And it eventually comes.
I have something with names. If I forget names, then if I go through the alphabet, I'll
do that
go,
sometimes,
right, what was that person called?
Doesn't help me at all.
No?
It's helped on some occasions, but the guy that owns the bar just down from where I used to live, totally forgot his name. I had to put it in my phone, and then when I saw him last time, I was like tick, flying through the phone because I had no idea what it started with, trying to find his first name. Got it then. Got it. Managed to use it. Just it felt good.
Sometimes I write things on my hand. When I used to be at work doing training courses and things, and someone would say, can you help me with XYZ, or can you get me a this or that, or tomorrow will you tell me about something? And I used to say to the group, if you ask me something and I don't write it on my hands, it won't happen. So make sure I get a pen and write it on my hand, and then I'll remember.
I think that's a very public way of saying I'm completely disorganised.
Yes. But it worked for me.
Basically, you've got
Not disorganised,
writing
bad
on your
memory.
body. It's I used to do the same though, mind you. When I was in my teens, I think I used to write things up my arm and on my hand and everywhere.
Before you went into exams, right?
No.
Well, isn't that why we have paper? Sorry, am I missing
Yeah, but you
something?
can put the paper down and forget where you've put it, mislay it.
Google Calendar.
Are we 90?
Listening task 4. Answers. There's no right or wrong answer here. It depends on what you do to help your memory. At the end of the unit, you can check your answers properly in the transcript. Listening task 5. Here's the last part of the conversation. Listen and decide who you think has the worst memory. Well, is your memory getting worse as you get older? I know mine is.
I can't remember.
Oh, very good, very good.
Seriously, I'm sure mine is getting worse.
I know
don't
many
know.
people's are getting worse. That's quite clear, but I don't think mine is, not yet. Or if it is, I've got sufficient techniques in place. I mean, it's hard to compare because I'm doing more now as well. I have more things to think about than I did 10 or 15 years ago. So, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, if I was trying to remember or do as many things as I do now, I would have had the same problem. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think my memory is getting any worse now. I think I'm more focused now than I was in my 20s, because in my 20s I was out partying more and,
There wasn't much to focus on, was there really? So
No.
who's playing next Friday or Saturday? Oh, it's
Yeah.
me.
which tunes I like and which music I like.
I find that I'm more and more often getting halfway through a sentence and then forgetting what it was that I actually wanted to say, or I'm speaking and me and my mother having a conversation is hilarious, because I'll say, did you see that programme on TV last night? The one with Thingy, that guy.
Thingy-jiggy.
Yeah, and she'll say, oh yes, it was about what's that country? We're having this conversation. There's no information going between the two of us because we can't remember the names.
And do you
of
find you
anything.
are actually talking about the same programme?
Yes, usually.
So that program with Thingamajig in the lead role, that they talk about thingy and do
Yeah,
thingy.
exactly.
No,
And we both know
no.
what we're talking about, but we can't
Quite pinpoint.
Exactly, you can't put your finger exactly on the word that you want, and that worries me because it didn't used to happen so much when I was younger.
Maybe it's just not such an important thing for you, so that's why you haven't provided any memory space for those particular details. This is only TV after all.
True. Listening task 5. Answers. So, who do you think has the worst memory? From the conversation, seems like me. Congratulations, you've done some good listening practice there.